Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going deep on communication, really exploring how to build stronger bonds, more satisfying connections. We'll be looking at Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Art of Communicating,
Yeah.
trying to uncover some techniques for what he calls mindful communication.
Really interesting stuff.
Get ready for some aha moments.
Yeah.
This is way more than just small talk.
Right.
We're talking about communication that can create real change, positive change.
One of the things I find most intriguing about Thich Nhat Hanh's work
Yeah.
is that he views communication through this really tangible lens. He compares our words to food.
I love that. Tell me more. What does he mean by that?
He talks about nourishing speech and toxic speech.
Okay.
Just like food, what we say can have either a positive or a negative impact
Makes sense.
on ourselves and others. Nourishing speech cultivates understanding, builds positivity, strengthens relationships.
Right.
Toxic speech, on the other hand, can really leave us feeling hurt.
Misunderstood, disconnected.
Yeah, I think recognizing that difference is key, right?
Yeah.
We've all been on the receiving end of some pretty toxic language.
For sure.
It can really sting.
It really can.
So how do we shift toward more of that nourishing communication?
Well, it starts with mindfulness, being present in the moment,
Okay.
paying attention to the impact of our words. Think of it this way. You wouldn't just grab any food off the shelf
Right.
without checking the label, would you?
Definitely not. I'm all about checking those ingredients.
Exactly. So why not bring that same level of awareness to our communication? Before you speak, take a moment to consider. Are these words nourishing or toxic?
Okay.
Will they contribute to understanding and connection, or will they create distance and negativity?
So let's say I'm at work and someone presents an idea that's, well, let's just say it needs some improvement.
Okay. Yeah.
Instead of blurting out, this is terrible, which is definitely toxic,
Yeah.
I could try something like it.
Yeah.
You could say something like, I appreciate your effort on this, but I'm wondering if we could explore a different approach to achieve specific goal.
Okay.
That way, you're acknowledging their work while also offering constructive feedback.
That's so much better.
Yeah.
It's direct but respectful,
Right?
and it opens the door for collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that kind of mindful communication goes hand in hand with mindful listening too, right?
Absolutely. Have you ever been talking to someone and you can just tell they're not really listening?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they're checking their phone or their eyes are glazed over, or they're just waiting for their turn to speak.
Right.
It doesn't feel good, does it?
Not at all. It makes you feel like what you're saying doesn't even matter.
Exactly. And that's where mindful listening comes in.
Okay.
It's about truly being present with the other person, giving them your undivided attention, hearing them without judgment.
But isn't it natural to want to offer solutions when someone is sharing their problems? Especially if it's someone we care about. We want to help them fix things.
I understand that impulse, but sometimes the most helpful thing we can do is simply listen
Okay.
with empathy. Let the person know we understand their pain. It's about creating a safe space for them to express themselves without feeling the need to defend or justify their feelings.
So resisting that urge to jump in with advice and just focusing on understanding their experience, that's actually a big shift for me.
It is for a lot of us, but the impact it can have on your relationships is incredible.
I can imagine, yeah.
Imagine how much lighter someone might feel if they knew they were truly heard without judgment or interruption.
That's a powerful thought. Makes me think about how we express our own feelings, too.
Yeah.
Thich Nhat Hanh talks about these specific phrases, mantras that can help us communicate our love and appreciation more effectively.
He does.
Yeah.
And these mantras are so simple, yet incredibly profound in their impact.
These mantras almost feel like little gifts you can give to someone you know, just with your words. What's the first one?
The first mantra is, I am here for you. It's such a direct and powerful way to communicate support, and it goes beyond just words. It's about showing up, both physically and emotionally, for the people you cared about.
It makes me think about how often we say, let me know if you need anything. But do we really mean it? This feels more like an active commitment to being there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about saying, I see you, I hear you, and I'm here to support you in any way I can, no matter what.
That's so powerful. What's the next mantra?
The second mantra is, I know you were there, and I am very happy.
Now, this one feels like a little burst of sunshine. It's so easy to take our loved ones for granted. Life gets busy, and we forget to acknowledge the simple joy of their presence.
It is. This mantra is a beautiful reminder to savor those connections. Imagine the impact of telling your partner, your child, your friend, I know you are there and I'm very happy. It's like a mini celebration of your relationship.
Yeah, and it shifts your focus.
Yeah.
Instead of being caught up in your own head, you're taking a moment to genuinely appreciate the other person.
Precisely. And the third mantra for expressing love and appreciation is, I know you suffer, and this is why I am here for you.
This one feels particularly poignant when someone is going through a tough time. It's not about trying to fix their problems or downplay their pain. It's about acknowledging it and offering your presence as a source of comfort.
Exactly. Think about a time when you were struggling with something. Did you want someone to tell you to buck up or offer unsolicited advice? Or did you just want to feel seen and supported in your pain?
Yeah, I know for me, just having someone acknowledge my pain and just sit with me, and it was so much more valuable than any quick fix.
And that's the beauty of this mantra. It's saying, I see your pain, I acknowledge it, and I'm here to support you through it, whatever that looks like for you.
You know, I've been focusing on these mantras in the context of personal relationships, but I can see how they could be incredibly powerful in other areas of life too.
Absolutely. Imagine using I am here for you with a colleague who's feeling overwhelmed, or I know you are there and I am very happy, as a way to acknowledge someone's contribution to a team effort. These principles of mindful communication can truly transform any interaction.
Okay, so we've covered nourishing speech, mindful listening, and those amazing mantras for expressing love and appreciation. What other gems does Thich Nhat Hanh offer for enhancing communication?
Well, he also dives into the power of specific mantras for cultivating personal happiness.
Now, that's something we could all use a little more of. Tell me everything.
The first mantra is, I suffer, please help. It might seem counterintuitive at first, but this mantra encourages vulnerability and connection. Think about it. How often do we try to hide our struggles, pretending everything's okay when it's really not?
Oh, I'm totally guilty of that. Putting on a brave face and pretending I have it all together.
But by acknowledging our suffering and asking for help, we open ourselves up to support and connection. We're saying, I'm not perfect, I'm struggling, and I need help. And that takes a lot of courage.
It does. But it also reminds us that we don't have to go through life alone. We're all in this together, and there's strength in reaching out for support. What's the next mantra for cultivating happiness?
The second one is a real gem. This is a happy moment. It's so simple, yet so profound in its ability to shift our perspective.
I can already feel myself smiling just hearing it. It's like a little permission slip to appreciate the good stuff, even amidst the chaos of everyday life.
Exactly. We often get so caught up in the past or worried about the future that we forget to savor the present moment. This mantra encourages us to pause, take a breath, and acknowledge the happiness that already exists in our lives.
You know, even just thinking about that warm cup of coffee I had this morning or the sound of my kids laughing, it brings a little more joy into this very moment.
And that's the magic of it. It's about training our minds to notice and appreciate those little moments of joy, no matter how small they may seem.
And what about the third mantra for personal happiness? This one has me intrigued.
The third one is, you are partly right. Now, this might seem a bit more complex, but it's all about cultivating balance and understanding.
Okay, break this down for me. How does admitting someone is partly right lead to happiness,
Yeah.
especially when it's someone we disagree with?
Think about it this way. When someone criticizes us, it's easy to get defensive and dismiss their opinion entirely. But this mantra encourages us to consider that there might be some truth in what they're saying, even if we don't agree with everything.
So it's about finding that nugget of wisdom,
Yeah,
even in feedback that we might not initially like.
exactly. It's about shifting from a defensive stance to a more open and receptive one. You're not conceding defeat. You're acknowledging that no one has a monopoly on truth.
And it takes the sting out of criticism, right? Instead of feeling attacked, you can approach the feedback with curiosity and a willingness to learn.
Precisely. And this mantra isn't just for dealing with criticism. It can also be applied to praise. When someone compliments us, it's tempting to either bask in the glow of their approval or brush it off as insincere.
Oh, I know that feeling. Either getting a big head or feeling awkward and downplaying the compliment.
But by saying, you are partly right, you acknowledge their positive feedback without letting it inflate your ego or make you feel uncomfortable. It's about maintaining a balanced perspective, both in how we view ourselves and how we receive feedback from others.
These mantras are really making me rethink my approach to communication. It's amazing how such simple phrases can have such a profound impact on our well-being.
And you know, Thich Nhat Hanh doesn't stop there. He also delves into the concept of loving speech, which takes these principles of mindfulness and applies them to all forms of communication.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about loving speech. What does that look and sound like in practice?
Loving speech is about communicating with honesty and compassion. It's about being mindful of the impact our words have on others and choosing to speak in a way that is kind, considerate, and supportive.
So it's not just about what we say, but how we say it.
Exactly. Thich Nhat Hanh stresses the importance of being truthful, even when it's difficult, but doing so in a way that minimizes harm and promotes understanding.
It reminds me of the classic advice to speak the truth, but always season it with love.
That's a great way to put it. And loving speech also involves really considering the other person's perspective and adjusting our communication style accordingly. Thich Nhat Hanh tells a fascinating story about the Buddha, who was known for his skillful communication.
Oh, I love a good story. Tell me more.
The Buddha was once asked the same question by two different people. To one person, he gave a very detailed and philosophical answer, but to the other, he offered a simple and straightforward response.
Why the different approaches?
Because the Buddha understood that not everyone is ready for or capable of understanding complex teachings, he tailored his communication to meet each person where they were at.
So it's not about dumbing things down, but about recognizing that we all learn and process information differently.
Exactly. It's about meeting people where they are and communicating in a way that is both meaningful and accessible to them.
So we've explored these amazing tools for individual communication, but Thich Nhat Hanh also talks about applying these principles to communities, right?
He does. He believes that mindfulness isn't just an individual practice, but something that can transform entire groups and organizations. He envisions mindful communities where these principles of compassionate communication are woven into the very fabric of how people interact.
That sounds amazing. But how do we move from individual mindfulness to creating mindful communities?
It might seem daunting, but it starts with each individual cultivating mindfulness within themselves. And then we bring that awareness into our interactions with others in our families, our workplaces, our social groups.
So it's like a ripple effect. As more and more people embrace mindful communication, it starts to influence the culture of the groups we're part of.
Exactly. Thich Nhat Hanh suggests some simple but powerful practices for cultivating mindfulness in a group setting. For example, before starting a meeting, you could take a few moments to breathe mindfully together. Or you can make a conscious effort to create a work environment where everyone feels safe to share their ideas and perspectives without fear of judgment.
It's about shifting the energy from competition and ego to collaboration and understanding.
Precisely. And the benefits of creating mindful communities are immense. Imagine a workplace where people feel heard and respected, where conflicts are resolved constructively, and where everyone feels a sense of belonging.
It sounds like a dream,
Oh,
but is it really possible to create that kind of transformation? Especially in environments that are already quite stressful or competitive.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
It starts with each of us making a conscious effort to communicate more mindfully. And as we do, we create a ripple effect that can transform not only our own lives, but also the communities we're a part of.
Yeah, it's like we're planting these little seeds,
Mm,
seeds of peace and understanding
right.
with every interaction we have.
Exactly.
And those seeds, they can really grow into something incredible.
They really can. What I find so inspiring about Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings is that they're not just these lofty ideals,
Yeah.
they're practical tools we can all use
Right.
to create positive change.
It's so easy to feel overwhelmed by everything that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Like our individual actions don't really matter.
I know what you mean.
But from what I'm hearing, even small changes in the way we communicate,
Mm-hmm.
they can have a ripple effect.
Absolutely. It's like that butterfly effect.
Hmm.
A small change in one place can have this huge impact.
Right.
And when you think about it, communication is at the heart of everything we do.
It really is.
It's how we build relationships, resolve conflicts, collaborate on projects, create change.
So by becoming more mindful communicators, we're
Yeah.
basically upgrading the operating system
Yeah.
for all of our interactions,
like that.
which can lead to some pretty incredible results.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that anyone can do it. You don't need any special training or qualifications. It's just about making that conscious choice to communicate with more awareness,
Yeah.
compassion, and intention.
I love that it's accessible to everyone. It's
Okay.
not about reaching some perfect state of communication.
Right.
It's about making those small incremental changes.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And there will be times when we, fall short,
Of course, yeah.
when we get triggered or say things we regret. But the key is to keep practicing.
Mhm.
Keep striving to communicate in a way that reflects our deepest values.
Okay, so someone listening to this,
Yeah.
feeling inspired to bring more of this mindful communication into their life,
Mhm.
where do they even begin?
Start small.
Hmm.
Choose
Oh,
one of the mantras we talked about. Try incorporating it into your interactions this week.
yeah.
Notice how it feels to say those words,
Hmm.
how people respond to you, how it shifts the energy of the conversation.
I love that. Start small, be consistent, and notice the impact.
Mm.
What about mindful listening? Any tips for breaking those bad habits? Like interrupting
Mm-hmm.
or planning your response while the other person's still talking?
That's a great question. One technique is to focus on your breath while the other person is speaking.
Uh-huh.
It can really help quiet your mind and allows you to be more present. You can also try mentally repeating back what the person is saying
Oh, interesting.
to make sure you're truly understanding them. And if you feel that urge to interrupt, just take a pause.
Okay.
Breathe and let the other person finish their thought.
It sounds like it all comes back to mindfulness, right?
It does.
Being present in the moment, paying attention to our own internal chatter as well as the words being spoken.
Exactly. And remember, mindfulness is a practice. It's not about perfection.
Right.
It's about showing up each day with that intention to communicate more consciously and compassionately.
Well, that's our deep dive into mindful communication, inspired by the wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh.
Great conversation.
We covered a lot of ground today, exploring everything from nourishing speech and mindful listening to the power of mantras and the importance of creating mindful communities.
It's really fascinating stuff.
As you go about your day, try experimenting with some of the techniques we've discussed. Maybe use one of the mantras, practice mindful listening with a loved one, or bring a bit more awareness to your communication at work. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference. And you might just spark a ripple effect of mindful communication that spreads far and wide.